Welcome to my presentation on the topic Decision-making of handball referees under physical and psychological load. My name is Nicolas Bloß, and today I will present you a project which we conducted in cooperation with the German Handball Federation. We conducted a systematic research program to investigate if physical and psychological load affects the decision-making of top-class handball referees, which we call RDM. Details are illustrated on the slide, and now I will just guide you through our program, which you can also read as a short article. And let's begin with the review entitled Physical Load and Referees Decision-Making in Sports Games, a Scoping Review, and why we start and should handle with this topic. So the question to answer is, why is it so important to cope the physical load? Well, the first reason is that referees must cope the physical load to reach a good position on field. If a referee is not able to cope the physical load, they may not be in a good position to decide about a situation, which can lead to decision errors impacting the game. The second reason is that if understanding decisions as a perceptual cognitive process, research indicates both an improvement but also an impairment of cognitive processes under physical load. And this leads to the question if RDM is also affected by physical load. And in the scoping review, we identified 11 studies researching the link between physical load and RDM. And hereby, physical load can be differentiated between external and internal load. But in view of the time, we cannot illustrate detailed results. But adhere that findings within and between parameters are extremely heterogeneous and does not provide a clear picture on the evidence. And here, please note our full text for more details. But what can we derive? Well, an issue of recent studies was that they mostly conducted ex post video analysis, inhibiting the control of the internal on the external load and the lack of control of confounding variables, such as crowd noise. And as a consequence, we recommend laboratory studies to control the internal load and confounding variables to more and more generate a clearer picture of the topic. But we must acknowledge that it is necessary to as best use representative tasks for both the physical load and the decision making. And we hence follow a naturalistic approach to as best approximate to real-world conditions. And now in two studies, we examined if physical load affects RDM. And first, if following a naturalistic approach, we have to take into account how the interest decision maker, in our case handball referees, makes decisions. And while previous studies focused on foul or offside decisions of handball referees are quite more complex, which we now will illustrate. And beginning at the top, a situation occurred referees must decide on. And now, in accordance with the rulebook, referees first decide to whistle or to not whistle, which we call a global decision. We then look at the type of foul and the punishment, which we call specific decisions 1 and 2. And a specific decision can only be correct if there was a foul and the referee correctly whistled. To examine effects of physical load on RDM, we further developed the yo-yo intermittent recovery test level 1 into the yo-yo test for referees, which we call the YYTRI. And in the YYTRI, we adapted every second regeneration phase in which referees conducted a video test instead of walking around a pylon. And you can find a demonstration video on our website by scanning this QR code. Participants were 66 top-class referees in Study 1, likewise 73 in Study 2, and 59 of them participated in both studies. In each study, referees were asked to run until their physical capacity. We separately analyzed the referees' global and specific decisions between 3 stages of physical load, which are initial, medium, and maximal external load. And we first look at results of global decisions. In Study 1, evidence indicate that referees make more correct global decisions under medium than under initial external load, but the decision-making accuracy decreased under maximal external load. And in study 2, we did not find any effect. Second, regarding results of the specific decisions, RDM accuracy decreases from initial to medium external load and kept constant under maximal external load. And we found an opposite pattern in study 2, revealing an improvement in decision-making accuracy from initial to medium external load. And you can find the control of the internal load on the external load in our soon published full text. So how could we explain the diverging results between study 1 and 2? Well, first, on average, the referees participated in both studies increased their endurance performance as they ran about 3 minutes longer in the second than in the first study. And as an improved endurance performance is associated with greater retention as well as with lower subjective fatigue, referees might be enabled to use larger cognitive capacities supporting their decision-making accuracy. A second explanation is the familiarization effect as a limiting factor. Referees did not know the YYTRI in study 1, but in study 2. And for phase 3, we thus determined further stages at the beginning of the YYTRI to reduce the familiarization effect, which leads me to phase 3. Interviews with referees revealed that a significant psychological load are decision errors by the referees themselves. A decision error might lead referees to ruminate about it, meaning that they repeatedly negatively think about the error. And as a result, they may lose concentration or attention, which then could lead to further decision errors. And there's evidence that the described phenomenon especially lasts for high ruminating referees, which we hypothesize are more affected by decision errors than low ruminating referees. And to determine low and high ruminating referees, we conducted an online questionnaire 2 days after the study. And more precisely, we conducted the rumination reflection questionnaire. To expose referees on psychological load when making decisions under physical load, they became instantaneous feedback on their decisions during the YYTRI. And they were only shown a green display if all partial decisions were correct. If only one decision was wrong, they were shown a red display, but without getting feedback on the error. Now, looking at the results, our hypothesis is not confirmed, as results reveal no differences between low and high ruminating referees, neither in global nor in specific decision-making accuracy. On this slide, I just summed up results which you may read again by pausing the video. Conclusions of our research program at first indicate that physical load may affect RDM, but we have to acknowledge especially a familiarization effect which future studies needs to consider and which should be incorporated in following a naturalistic study. A possible explanation that we did not find differences between low and high ruminating referees might be the referee's expertise. Referees with great expertise may not be impacted by rumination, meaning that referees who are impaired by external factors, such as rumination, are not nominated for top squads and drop out early. But we have to consider that we just simulate the psychological load and we just recommend to still consider rumination and other psychological factors in future studies. And finally, the YYTRI seems at least currently be a useful tool to diagnose decision-making under physical load, since you can integrate, for example, psychological load. And lastly, we want to thank all our partners supporting our research. And I want to thank you for your interest, and I look forward on your feedback. Thank you.